Back with you here from Tri-County Speedway in Hudson, North Carolina. What has been a very wild night so far through 75 laps of Pro Late Model competition and 51 for the GXS Wrap Street Stocks. But, Eric, we turn our attention to the late model stock car field, and if you've been following the Cars Tour here this season, I'm pretty sure you remember the race that we had here just under 2 months ago. $30,000 that Landon Huffman ended up taking home. But what a journey it was to get there with all the drama that we saw on that night. Some of the incidents, drivers running out of fuel, 2, 3, 4. I think even at one time we almost called 5 wide at one point in the night. These late model stocks have put on a spectacular show all season long, and they are set up to do no better tonight than at this facility right now. And I just can't wait to get these cars rolling. And again, every time we see these cars parked on the front stretch, just look at the quality of the field, and you could really point out any car that is in our frame right now, even some of those that are rolling on the track in the background, that have a real shot to win tonight.
And, I mean, the field, as you mentioned, Blake, is stacked. And why would tonight be any different as far as the race being exciting and fiercely competitive? And we may not see some of the exact same scenarios that played out in August, but we're definitely going to see the same type of racing, where oftentimes drivers will have options. Landon Huffman was one of the best all night long back in August on making the bottom of the racetrack work. And it's hard to believe, Blake, that in terms of that driver's story, we were here just a few weeks ago. There's been a lot of news that has come out for that driver and that team. The team is going to put Connor Hall in the car for 2024. Landon just announced this past week he's going over to Jimmy Morin Racing for 2024 alongside of Jared Fryer, a former Cars Tour champion, for his opportunity at more success next season. There's a lot of drivers racing with a lot of different agendas. That's been the key word over the last few races. Brendan Butterbean Queen wants the points lead. He won the pole. Everybody else potentially vying for an opportunity at Victory Lane. While Carson Guapo is trying to do everything he can to protect the championship points lead. 125 laps, Tri-County, late model stock cars. There's no better recipe for entertainment. We've got it all right here.
I think you bring up a great point that Huffman was really kind of able to go where they weren't. He talked about that again coming into tonight. Someone else that was able to make the bottom side of the racetrack work to his advantage was that black and yellow number 15 of Ryan Millington. Yep. He and Huffman were the stewards of being able to go down there and make up track position at a track that, again, will favor the top side, but you have to go where they aren't to try and make up those spots, and those two were incredibly strong at being able to do it. And as we see the light show, another very strong competitor here. I know there was a lot of talk and a lot of drama in the headlines after the Winchester 400 this weekend, but how about Stephen Nasse running in the late model stocks here for the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour? Loves every time that he's able to pilot one of these late model stocks, but he's starting in 6th and has as good of a shot as any of these front runners have potentially ending up in Edelbrock Victory Lane tonight.
Yeah, quite the opportunity for Nasse here as he pulls out the late model stock car. How about the optics of the Tri-County Speedway? And again, this is new. We were here in August, and since then, the track put in this new Musco lighting system. It allows an opportunity for the drivers to see that they are on a massive stage here tonight. Several watching from home on Flow Racing, and several have come on out here as we just start to turn the colors of the leaves on the trees in the fall months here in North Carolina. It is going to be fun for the next 125 laps.
That it is. Brendan Queen starting from the pole. He talked about it and knew coming into this weekend that this was going to be a weekend of hopefully redemption for that 0-3 Doug Powers led Elite Pulliam Performance team. How well they ran at Tri-County last time out. They drove from the back of the field seemingly twice up to the front. They get up front, run out of gas at Tri-County. We'll see what happens as Landon Huffman, you can see, has pulled down to the bottom, very bottom of the racetrack, kind of where some of the confetti from Edelbrock Victory Lane has settled. We'll see if we can catch up on that and more as we toss it down trackside to Jacqueline Drake. What you got for us?
Landon Huffman, that number 22, stopping in for a quick radio switcheroo. Probably having a little bit of battery issues, so the team's going to get him fixed back up. But I want to talk a little bit about that 51 is Stephen Nasse joining here on a rare sighting inside the Cars Tour in a late model stock start. This is a brand new car. This is different from what he ran the last time he was here. Different type of chassis. This is a Reynolds. He's normally used to running a Hedgecock. So he's still trying to iron out and get the feel for how this late model stock is in comparison to all of his super experience, but even in his limited late model stock experience, totally different from what he's used to. So watch out for the number 51. They plan to make a few more appearances in 2024 as the team looks to expand a little bit further outside of what he's normally used to in the supers.
Nasty, a very confident young man. He says, I expect to win. He said that about coming into this weekend, and he backed it up with the sixth-place run in qualifying. As you can see, Huffman, who pulled away and continuing to do work to try and fix the radio issue that number 22 car is having. Lights are still on the pace car, but they may not stay on much longer as Huffman trying to sort this issue out.
Spotter Charlie Brown back in the ears for that of Landon Huffman for this race. So the question is there an issue with perhaps being able to hear that spotter communication, or maybe to the team? You'd have to imagine it's spotter related, being that's going to be very pivotal throughout the night as the race rolls on. Good news for Landon. He's going to be able to roll off here, and the field will continue on for their parade and pace laps once more. Blake, before we get going, I just want to send a very special hello to my father, John, who's back home from a stint in the hospital. He suffered a mild heart attack earlier in the week. Dad, I have to say I've never been more excited to know that you're watching along from home. I think we're going to entertain you with a good one. Rest up, heal up, and we all love you and we're thinking about you.
Absolutely, can definitely echo those sentiments, and be keeping up with your progress, and hope that you're doing well here tonight. As you can see a switch up front on the front row. Brendan Queen, your Hedgecock Racing Pole Award winner, electing the outside. It will put William Sawalich, who is another name, Eric. We haven't seen him a lot in Cars Tour recently, but anything that this kid jumps behind, he has been quick, he has been competitive, and he has been fast all weekend long.
Already made a few truck starts, already scored a top 10 there for Tricon Garage, wrapped up the Arkham Nards East title, now looking for a Cars Tour late model stock victory with 0.06 of a second shy of the pole. What could he do here tonight, lining up alongside of Butterbean?
You have a second row of cars that can win. Glad to see Connor Hall back here. Kate Brown has a shot to win. You have your South Boston winner starting in fifth in Deke McCaskill. 125 laps as the pace car will dive to the safety of the pits through the KRC Power Steering start zone. The Blue Ridge 125 from Tri-County, and the penultimate race for the Cars Tour is underway. Early jump on the outside from Butterbean. He's able to clear Sawalich for second. Hall nearly brushed the wall off of turn number 2, but it looks like it's going to be good enough for him to get up into third as he gets way high, with some cars looking to go 2 or 3 wide. I believe that was Huffman that ducked his nose back down to the bottom, try and work the bottom as he did so masterfully here back in August.
Everybody trying to find some clear running room right now on this very wide racetrack that offers several different lanes to work with. You see the 77 of Connor Hall, 23 Cade Brown, Stephen Nassy in the 51 just behind. That's a gaggle of white and black and red cars, if you will. Throw Deke McCaskill's name in the mix in the 08, and we're still trying to figure out who's going to lay claim to these top 3 spots here.
Well, again, you think about South Boston and how well that topside worked for Deke McCaskill there, looking to do the same at Tri-County Speedway tonight. Was shocked. I don't want to say shocked, but he was so surprised. 2 wins in the Cars Tour. Are you kidding me? Especially with how competitive of a series that this has turned into. The former series champion, hungry as ever to perhaps go back to Edelbrock victory lane for a third time here in 2023. Meanwhile, Connor Hall running in third, the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series champion. He had a real shot as he was running here for the Cars Tour, was running second in the points at one juncture during the season. Eventually elected to try and chase down that national championship. He was able to complete that with how dominant he had been at Langley all season long, as one car parked on the top side of turn number 2 will bring out the first Volt battery caution of the night. Fortunately, it's going to be the 09 of Riley Gentry.
And perhaps the heartbreaking stat of the night is going to belong to this number 09 Toyota driver as well in the Gentry Services entry out of Beasley, South Carolina. This is Riley's 4th start, and it looks like it could turn into his 4th DNF. He raced his way into the race at Hickory when we had the LCQ there earlier in the season. Ended up retiring from that event, retired with a mechanical issue when we went back to Hickory in the summer, and then started 24th and finished 23rd after a mechanical issue here back in August. Gentry, who we had a chance to catch up with him last time we were out here at Tri-County, small group, family-owned operation, but every time he unloads one of these Cars Tour events, he has a smile that is about as wide as the front of that race car. And even though they have just not been able to shake this black cloud from above him in terms of performance and results, he's certainly happy to be here. He just needs the stars to align and get him to the finish of these races.
Well, again, somebody that often competes in this area. I mentioned the 4 Card Store races he's run this year has been both at nearby Hickory Motor Speedway and, of course, making his 4th start here at Tri-County and beckoning the truck to push him along as we'll take a look at the Cards Tour point standings, and is definitely a situation here, Eric, where the championship could be wrapped up after tonight with the lead that Carson Quapple enjoys.
And I'm going to admit to everybody right here and now that I am not going to be one to burn a calculator and try to figure out the math when all said and done here tonight. I will leave that to the professionals. But we do know that Brendan Butterbean Queen, by virtue of that 33-point deficit, he does have a shot, and the goal is going to be for him to do whatever they can control, and he's done just that up to this point. Won the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award, has led every lap since the drop of the green, albeit it hasn't been that many. But for the most part here, he's doing his job. He's doing his role, while Carson Quapple qualified outside the top 10 for what was a rare appearance for him to not be in that top 10. Butterbean may not be out of this one yet. We'll see how the night unfolds as the work begins on the 09 car.
Indeed, we will. And again, for those of you who do want to punch the calculator, if he is up 38 points, that would be a locked-in championship after the night. 37 points, the maximum amount of points that you can garner in a Cards Tour race, so 38 would be the number that Quapple is looking to aim for. There are also some year-end bonuses in terms of the point standings. Most wins on the season will get an additional 2 bonus points. Of course, that would go to Quapple at the end of the season, and most pole awards would also be handed out. Once all is said and done, that would be 1 bonus point.
Which Butterbean took the nod today.
They
were tied at 4 apiece. He's got 5 now. Brandon Willard offering up his energy and excitement for the fact that we are getting close to a restart, having the field choose this time through, and we see Butterbean elects the top side with Sawalich back down low, with the restart coming with only 5 laps complete after the 09 of Riley Gentry came to a stop in turn number 2.
Not much of a change that we saw, at least through your front 6. It's Kate Brown, somebody that I chatted with a little bit earlier today, was talking about, this was a track that they felt like they just missed it. They weren't going to be strong, and he wasn't overly confident about what they had tonight. Well, you can see how that turned out. I remember talking to Huffman before he went out and won this race a little under 2 months ago, and he said, yeah, I think we got a 10th place car. So can kind of show you that sometimes your car really comes to you and, just is the beneficiary of good track position, how important qualifying has become in this series, as Queen will give plenty of room to the GXS Wraps pace cars, and we'll dive down to the safety of pit lane. And for the first time here for a restart, we'll work our way through the KRC Power Steering restart zone and get back underway here for Tri-County for another 120 laps. 4 wide, almost in the middle of the field. It's Huffman that's on the top side of that. They work their way off the corner. Sawalich, though, has a nose to the inside of Brendan Queen. And we'll continue to stay side by side into turns 1 and 2 as we have trouble in turn 4. The Volt battery caution, I believe, is out. Indeed it is. And it is going to be Cameron Boland who spins out in turn 4. Albeit it doesn't look like a ton of damage to that number 67 car. A rough start here for Boland. I was talking with his father a little bit earlier, was just saying, you know what, we just need to focus on how to get this car going for 25 laps. That's been the primary focus this weekend. Haven't been worrying about qualifying at all, and they did that to good effect the last time we were here. Got a Cards Tour best, 10th place finish after starting in 28th here in August.
Boland, the leader of the MPM Marketing Rookie of the Year points coming into tonight's race over that of Dylan Wilson. Getting turned around here in turns 3 and 4. And we did not get a lap complete at the time of that yellow. Watch the right-hand side of your picture, far right side of your frame. There's Connor Zilish with a tag from Laney Bice, who gets up into the left rear tire of Boland. And everybody tries to avoid as bits and pieces of bodywork start to get scattered about the center of the corner.
See some damage for Cameron Boland, perhaps a little more for Connor Zilish, and I think you diagnosed that correctly, Roger. Well, if anything, there may have been a little bit of contact from behind. I'd like to see if perhaps it was Rogero that may have nicked the back of the 21 car. Not sure, can't exactly tell if there was about 3 or 4 cars that were in a line of contact there through 3 and 4. But nevertheless, Boland able to spin. Connor Zilish just pulling off of the pit area, so elected to come down and at least take a look at his number 57 Carroll Speed Shop machine and see if they can't buff something out before we get the one to go signal this time.
A hard time getting this one going, it seems. I'm not accustomed to this in most of the Cars Tour events that we've been fortunate enough to be a part of here. Again, only 5 laps complete, 2 cautions, one for the Stop 09 of Riley Gentry, the other for the spin by Cameron Bolin. We'll try it again.
That we will. 120 laps to go once again as we will reapproach the KRC Power Steering restart zone. So Wallich trying to get a good jump on the bottom. But it's going to be a better launch on the top side for both Brendan Queen and Connor Hall. And we'll try it once again as McCaskill looks to the bottom and can scatter it about 4 wide at certain points in the corner in 1 and 2 here at Tri-County.
How about Connor Hall trying to fill that void up on the top side now of Sawalich. And that Chad Bryant Racing number 77 pulls even with Sawalich, who hops and skips his way into turn number 1, almost up into the side of Hall. And Stephen Nassi trying to follow Hall through as well on the top side to see if he can get to third, if they can get that top line rolling.
Oh, I can tell you there's a lot of checking up in the middle part of the field on the right-hand side of your screen. Josh Dickens behind him and Dylan Ward. Quapple had to go low to avoid. Bobby McCarty followed Minnie Tyrell through and gained a couple of positions off of turn 2. As this is where the Hornet's Nest is here in this Cars Tour field. So close, so competitive at a racetrack where so many lanes are available. This is going to be the end result. Your top 2 able to sort things out single file for now. It is still Connor Hall laying claim to that 3rd spot. As you can already see, at least early on in this race, Eric, many more cars that are not just running kind of a little bit lower than what we've seen, but they are running nearly along the inside retaining wall here at Tri-County.
Especially down here in turns 3 and 4. We've seen everybody kind of hug that inside lane right there as McCaskill flirts with putting the left side door up against the concrete, trying to get that bottom lane to roll to the inside of Stephen Nassi. All the while, Sawalich has not allowed Brendan Butterbean Queen to drive out too far ahead. The gap's about 1 car length between 1st and 2nd. Double wide throughout maybe the rest of the field.
It's already quickly turning into a multi-groove racetrack. Cade Brown, again, slowly starting to work on Connor Hall. Stephen Nassi also running behind the number 77 car. As you mentioned a little bit earlier on in the broadcast, it'll be a new look for Connor Hall in 2024. We'll run full-time in the Cars Tour with Nelson Motorsports, and the car currently piloted by Landon Huffman. And 2 of the drivers we were talking about a little bit earlier that are making the bottom work, Millington making the top side work right now as Huffman tries to make up a spot on him.
This fight continues on to the 3rd position. And how about the 5th white car there on the right side of your picture, the Carroll Speed Shop number 95 of Jacob Hefner. Started the year off so strong, but then had a run of bad luck in the summer months. And they actually just came off of what was not the best of performances in South Boston. We're talking about many drivers who are already planning for 2024. Well, how about congratulations to Jacob Hefner and his fiancée Morgan on their recent engagement over the last week. That's got to give that young man some extra pride on the weekend. And we'll see what he can do here tonight. Maybe bring a trophy home, as he is going to be celebrating that life achievement. I say achievement, you know, that's something to look forward to, of course.
I'll call it an achievement for sure, and an achievement for that team. Jacob Hefner, as we've watched him throughout his Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour career, has always been somebody who has raced forward. And qualifying has not necessarily been his strong suit, but is always racing forward and finishing much better than where he qualified. I think a lot of confidence for that driver tonight, albeit that he's starting in the 6th position, you know, and we might see a little bit later on, very good at being able to try and make up spots, especially at the tail end of these races. So it could be a part of the many cars we see in front of him to have a shot to go to Edelbrock victory lane tonight. Cade Brown a little bit sideways off the bottom of the racetrack, still trying to find a little bit of an advantage that he can take over Connor Hall. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, you can see Carson Quapple, who has cleared a line of cars. Again, this is back for 13th as Quapple, just the 2nd time all season that he has started outside of the top 10.
He hasn't made all that much progress. Still running in that 13th position is that of Carson Quapple while the battling continues on and around him. And how about Josh Dickens in the 20 on the right side of your picture, getting around Brandon Pierce. Dickens in only his 2nd race back since what we would call a midseason hiatus, if you will, and a transition in race teams. Had a strong run at South Boston, looking for more here at Tri-County after qualifying up into the top 10. Right now, Dickens, however, though, is running in the 16th position. Still a long way to go in this race.
Cade Brown still trying to work on Connor Hall as now Stephen Nassi going to make that a battle for almost the fourth position with Cade Brown. He has the opportunity to get up. Is he going to take it? Unfortunately, Nassy is there. Stephen Nassy trying to make his way one spot further up the road, but Cade Brown, again, somebody who has raced a lot at Hickory, as he is the track champion for 2023 at that racetrack, and has made many trips up here to Tri-County. Won a race earlier this year in late model stock car competition here at this racetrack. Knows how to get around it and find where his car works best for sure.
And think of the environment in which Cade Brown has put himself in. You mentioned young, accomplished racer in his own right, but tussling with Mason Diaz at Hickory earlier in the year for a Cars Tour win. Now finds himself behind the national champion in Connor Hall and ahead of Stephen Nassy, who has quite the racing resume of his own right, who's alongside Deke McCaskill, Cars Tour champion, multi-time winner, leader in pretty much all stat categories in terms of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. Cade Brown is in good company right now in terms of where he's running on the racetrack in fourth and the cars in which he is around. This is a big opportunity for him to earn some of the respect of drivers who he may be racing with and against for many years still to come.
Good point being made right there. Is you could see trying to he was running pretty low to try to get around Connor Hall, but you could see trying to widen out his entry into the corner, trying to help a little bit. Nassy may have tagged the wall there off of turn 2 in that bout with Deke McCaskill. Landon Huffman also looking awfully strong as he's made up a couple of spots early on in this race. Up to 8th right now and challenging for 7th on the inside of the Carroll Speed Shop machine of Jacob Hefner. And really close quarters there with Deke McCaskill, Stephen Nassy. McCaskill will try to race clean. A little bit of a wiggle there for Nassy. That's going to be what McCaskill needs, as Deke looking to try and crack his way further up into the top 5.
And while those 4 are continuing to stay committed to the middle or top side of the racetrack, I can't help but have some deja vu flashbacks of the Nelson Motorsports number 22 making the low side work. Landon Huffman has been picking them off one at a time on the bottom of the racetrack, and he has now gotten between Jacob Hefner in the 95 and Stephen Nassy in the 51.
Right-hand side of your screen, great battle going on right there. Mason Diaz, Bobby McCarty, Ryan Millington. This is, just a couple of feet behind where the cars on the left-hand side of your screen are battling. Diaz, at least early on, really rolling the top side, and did this a couple times last time we were at Tri-County. You can see him just almost touching the right rear quarter panel of Bobby McCarty, and threaded the needle a couple of times in that race trying to go up the middle. We chronicled some of the contact he had in that race with Lane Riggs a little bit earlier, and yet late in the race, that 24 car really came to life, still mustered a great finish despite some of the contact. There is at his close quarters with he and Bobby McCarty. Meanwhile, left-hand side of your screen, just a little bit of a scattered 3 wide. So we're splitting your vision here at the Car Store, which we've had to do all season long.
Our team is doing their best to show you all the action that is taking place around this racetrack, and there is a lot of it. Here comes McCaskill down to the inside. Right side of your picture, McCarty and Diaz. Really uncharacteristic, I would say, for McCarty's part. For Diaz, qualifying's been a bit of a struggle. They started 15th and 16th, respectively.
Oh, man!
Yikes, as McCarty and the 15 of Millington almost squeeze each other up into the fence. Diaz trying to pounce on them both.
Diaz made that 3-wide move, and I'm not sure that McCarty or Millington was expecting it, but you know what? It nets him a position and allows Carson Quapple to slowly roll up to the back of this 3-way battle. So Diaz, hard racing, works out for that number 24 Chad Bryant Racing, Solid Rock Carriers Ford. Now he looks up the road with Riley Gentry, his slow car that is on the bottom, trying to get some laps around this racetrack, although he has scored 31 laps behind your race leader.
In the 7 prior Cars Tour late model stock races here at Tri-County, the winner of the race has not come from any worse than 7th place. You're looking at a knot of cars and drivers who are trying to knock that stat out of the ballpark, as all of these drivers, in Quapple, Diaz, McCarty, even Ryan Millington started 8th. He's kind of fell back here in the early going. All these drivers trying to break the spell of having to start up in the front 7 to go to victory lane here.
Again, this is one of those tracks that you can see Quapple really having to wheel that race car off the corner very early on. Again, you're not going to see a ton of fall off here at Tri-County, but it's very evident early on which cars are good, which are not. And this is typically a racetrack where that trend is going to continue to the end. If you're falling back early, it's usually not going to work out all too well, or not a degree you can save to maybe you have something at the end. Not saying you can't save, but a car that is trending in the wrong direction, it's not very often that you see it start trending in the right direction before we get going. And speaking of getting going, Eric, I mean, we were finally able to get this race going. Roughly about 5 laps or so until our first Volt Battery competition caution coming out of the night, and yet throughout this entire run, these two have been running exactly like this, and Cade Brown in the 23, Connor Hall in the 77.
And the whole time, it appears as though the last race winner at South Boston, Deke McCaskill's had a front row seat to it all. See Brown there, just trying to get some clean air on the left front nose of that car. And the Matt Pearson Racing number 23, they have already put a lap on Giovanni Ruggiero. They're coming up on the backside of him. While race leader Brendan Butterbean Queen is in some heavy traffic. This is the fight for third. You see there, Brown appears to be able to just kind of get a little bit back to the gas earlier there in the center of the corner as Queen now tries to put a lap on Cameron Boland, who wants to remain in position to be the first car 1 lap down with the comp yellow looming.
Boy, he is sideways through turns 3 and 4 and trying to hang on, approaching some of the lap traffic. Again, 2 more laps until that competition caution were to come out. Logan Clark is just up the road. You know, if you're Cameron Boland, you are hoping that Queen does not catch that 15 car, will allow you to get the free pass when this Volt Battery caution does come out.
As you mentioned, Logan Clark next in line for the race leader, and Brendan Butterbean Queen, who has been absolutely perfect so far here tonight.
Clark awfully sideways off the corner, and just as leaders were approaching the yellow flag, and even just as Ruggiero, who had kind of had a little bit of a struggle, had fallen right back to Stephen Nassy when the Volt Battery caution displayed. Will bring out the yellow flag once again here at Tri-County. And again, what an advantage that Queen was able to build up over that nearly 2.5 seconds he had over William Sawalich. 80 laps to go here from Tri-County. We'll be back after this on Flow Racing. Back with you here from Tri-County Speedway. Blake McCandless, Eric Brennan, and Jacqueline Drake on the call with you here tonight for the penultimate race of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour. Eric, it's tough to believe that we are already at this point of the race of the season when we're talking about handing out a championship, where we just have one more race to go at Caraway Speedway in 2 weeks. Cannot believe how quickly this season has flown by.
It feels like it was just yesterday. The press release came out. There was a new ownership group involved with the tour, and all the races have been filled with energy and excitement. Tonight has been no exception. Let's check in with the third member of our broadcast team, Jacqueline Drake, who's got to report pit side.
Currently sitting in that 7th position, you'll find the number 22 of Landon Huffman, who was your past winner when the Cars Tour visited here the last time, and he won the $30,000 race. Just checked in on his radio. He said, I have another rocket ship underneath this Nelson Motorsports 22. Gonna be one to watch out for. Looks like we might have a battle on our hands between him and the 03.
May just be the case, as again you can see how well that 22 car was able to roll the bottom. Very reminiscent of what he had here a couple of weeks ago when we were, or a couple of races ago, I guess I should say, here at Tri-County. The one thing with Landon Huffman, though, there were so many strong cars in that race. We had a lot of late race carnage and chaos drivers running out of fuel, all that happened. But Huffman certainly one of those cars that could go up and win. Now, he's got a tall task in front of his hands. I mean, look at Connor Hall, Cade Brown. They ran side by side for pretty much that entire run, 40 laps. It is going to be difficult, even with where he sits right now, 6th or 7th position, to continue moving forward. It's going to come down to these restarts and how much time he's really able to make up there. As you can see, a trio of race cars that have elected to come down and take service. Timothy Peters included in that. Giovanni Ruggiero, who we had mentioned had just gone a lap down before the competition caution was displayed. Ronnie Bassett Jr., who just hopped out of a GXS Wrap street stock, as well as Logan Clark, who was trying to get that car pushed out of the pits.
One of the other things to consider here is we run so many racetracks that are known to have a very abrasive surface as they try to push Logan Clark's car back to get started here. Unfortunately, they're going to run out of runway there to try to make that happen at this point. We'll see if he can get that refired. But we run so many racetracks where we see if the top is the preferred groove, running the bottom could really be detrimental, specifically to your right rear and right front tire throughout the duration of a run. Tri-County, because the pavement is so new, these drivers really can push and try to utilize the bottom of the racetrack early in the going in this race and to make it work, and it may not come back and bite them at the end of the run or the end of the race. The one variable, though, when we were here back on August 19th, it was obviously still middle of the summer here in Carolinas. Right now, the ambient air temperature here is about 50 degrees. With that, these are track conditions these drivers and teams aren't all that accustomed with. They practice in the heat of the day. Test day was yesterday, heat of the day. This may be a whole new world from a setup perspective for some of these drivers and teams, and they may be chasing it for the remaining 80 laps.
Consensus down there in the pit area, it was a little bit slower this time around, which I think would be hard to imagine with how much grip and how much cooler it is this trip around. But it has worked out for Brendan Queen, who has led every lap thus far through the KRC Power Steering restart zone. He will once again lead us back to the green flag. So Wallett's trying to pull up alongside, but now Connor Hall, little slide off the corner. He tries to make a move for second. Meanwhile, Landon Huffman just heard about he and his efforts here tonight trying to make that move on Stephen Nassy. It looks like he's going to be able to clear for what would be sixth if he wasn't checked up there for 3 wide in front of Cade Brown.
New second-place runner in that of Connor Hall made the pass on Sawalich, who was not able to make the low line work to hold on to the runner-up position. Now Cade Brown appears to be trying to look for an avenue to get up to that top side of the racetrack, as the top lane appears to be the preferred lane right now. McCaskill trying to get the nose of that Ford up top on the 23 in what is now a battle for fourth, with Brown digging on the bottom alongside of Sawalich.
I've seen those bright gloves of Cade Brown working inside the wheel of his race car. It looks like he has the opportunity there just for a moment if he wanted to try to jump up to the top side on William Sawalich. He may just do it here. I just don't think he wants to run up there. He wants to run on the bottom. He thinks his car is good enough. And boy, where in the world did Mason Diaz come from? We talked about Huffman moving up the board. How about Mason Diaz now flirting with the top 10?
From 15th in the qualifying order, after he has admitted several times that has been a struggle point for them in 2023. But when it comes to race pace, he's got it. He's third in the championship standings with good reason. Looking for win number 2 here tonight. Now looking 3 wide on Huffman off the corner, but he drops back in line.
We have seen already here tonight that he is willing to go to whatever lane is open, even if it's all the way on the bottom or in the middle of 2 cars that are already battling side by side. Have to take it where you can get it. As Huffman once again trying to get that drive off the corner that he needs to clear McCaskill. They nearly touch. McCaskill, you can see where he's able to drive it into the corner, but Huffman makes the move by.
Diaz may not be done yet. He got by Stephen Nassy for that position. Now to the inside of the South Boston winner, Indeed McCaskill, as they almost come together off turn 4. Now everybody starts to fan out to the bottom lane. This is Sawalich and Brown for third, 3 wide behind them with McCarty and Nassy coming together.
I thought Nassy was to the inside of McCaskill, and that would have ended horribly if he was. Luckily, he's just going to be able to fall back a couple of spots and live to see another lap as McCaskill looks like fading a little bit in that per your take lines forward. Another Arnest race car to his inside, and Bobby McCarty, who has been trying to make his way by, as Nassy falling back here early in the going in Tri-County.
Of course, Stephen Nasse is a name in which you may have saw several news articles over the last couple of weeks. He was vying for his third Winchester 400 victory when a late restart in contact with Giovanni Ruggiero put him up and into the wall. There was some post-race conflict. Penalties were levied by the sanctioning body who hosted the event. Ironically, both Nasse and Ruggiero came out here to Tri-County this weekend in a late model stock car. And right now, Nasse is running well up ahead of Giovanni Ruggiero, who has struggled a little bit here throughout the night. But nevertheless, this is only his third Cars Tour late model stock 4A for that of Nasse in the 51. And he has several super late model wins under the Cars Tour banner when that series was still in operation. Nasse now trying his hand at that late model stock, and as Jacqueline Drake mentioned earlier, the plan is to see more of the driver out of Pinellas Park, Florida in 2024.
One of just 3 drivers that are at least a lap behind the leader is Giovanni Ruggiero. Currently runs behind Timothy Peters, who would have the free pass should the Volt battery caution be displayed. Last couple of laps, though, Cade Brown, it comes in just a few inches every single lap. You really have to work on that driver to continue to make up the position on the bottom to be able to make that pass. And at least for now, starting to inch ever so closer to being able to complete that pass on William Sawalich on the left-hand side of your screen. You can also see Mason Diaz starting to pounce a little bit on Landon Huffman, make his way up into the top 5.
And how about the championship points leader, Carson Quapple? We talked about him qualifying outside of the top 10. That's a bit of a rarity. He is trying to crack the top 10 if he can get up to and past the McCumbee Elliott Racing number 16 of Chad McCumbee, who's to the inside of Stephen Nasse for what is a battle now for the 9th spot.
Meanwhile, it is still about a second and a half or so that the advantage that Butterbean enjoys over Connor Hall, who has been running the top side pretty religiously here so far in that number 77 car. And again, good to see Connor Hall back out here at the racetrack. Of course, when in chase that national championship, was able to garner it. We know he's still capable of winning races here in the Cars Tour. And change that number 22 next year that you see battling on your screen. Certainly, I think, going to continue the progress that Nelson Motorsports team and program has made this season from what it was at the beginning to where it is now. They've made a lot of progress, and I think Connor Hall is somebody that's very capable of continuing that progress.
A lot of pace out of his teammate tonight as well, and that of Mason Diaz. All the while, Brendan Butterbean Queen continues to exercise a healthy advantage to the tune of a second and a half. The report from Jacqueline Drake trackside per the radio transmission of that team, even though he is leading and walking away from the field as things get close here, he's still saving in that 03 car. Not what the field wants to hear as Diaz slides almost up into the door of Huffman off 4.
These two have nearly made contact the last several laps as Diaz, again, feels like he has a little bit of a better car and probably just wanting to get going while the going is good. All the way down to the bottom, sliding him off the corner. Great shot, as you can see Huffman working the wheel behind the wheel, or in the cockpit of his number 22 Nelson Motorsports machine. Diaz off the corner once again, just trying to hold Huffman at bay there on the top side.
We've alluded to Landon Huffman's win here back in August several times, and one of the things that sticks out in my mind when he got out of the car and went to go hug his father, Robert, the one thing he kept saying as he gets a nudge here was, "I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him." Landon is someone who prides himself on trying to race as clean as possible. Mason Diaz, however, wants to go.
Diaz sliding, but is still able to make up some ground. That number 24 car, and off of turn 2, going to be able to make and complete that pass. You see a little bit of a courtesy wave out the window. Diaz able to work his way up into the top 5. Huffman will have to regroup and try to make up from his 6th position now. Still not a whole lot separating 2nd through 4th. Hall has had his hands full, whether it was Cade Brown and whether it is now William Sawalich. He's had several drivers hounding him, but he has not given in yet.
All the while, the margin between Butterbean and this fight continues to grow. It is 1.8 seconds, with Butterbean starting to close in on the tail end of the pack yet again. But the laps continuing to click off. It is Hall in the 77, Sawalich in the 43, Brown in the 23. In this fight for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th respectively, with Brown continuing to be a little more confident to allow that car to run about a lane or a half a lane lower than the cars in which he's chasing.
With the way things are running now, again, Butterbean setting himself up well here. He already came across. He led the iRacing Halfway Award He will garner the most laps led, so we'll get the extra bonus points in doing so. And Carson Quapple, you can see right now, running in the 11th position, having what would be his worst run so far of the 2023 season, on a night in which he could lock up the championship. But Queen is making that a very difficult proposition right now, and unfortunately, Quapple just not having the speed we've been accustomed to seeing out of that number 8 Junior Motorsports car.
Quapple has finished in the top 10 in every race so far this season. Brendan Butterbean Queen, the competition, had one race where he was outside the top 10 at the checkered flag. And right now, Quapple has just gotten himself up into a top 10 position to try to keep that streak alive and go 15 for 15 on the year.
Meanwhile, behind, you continue to see this battle. Again, we've kind of moved around the racetrack, and yet we've seen that not much has changed. This field is so close, so competitive. These three still going at it back and forth. Hall, Sawalich, the 23 of Cade Brown. Meanwhile, right-hand side of your screen, remember McCarty kind of pulled up to McCaskill, who was fading a little bit about 15 or 20 laps ago or so. Yet you can see they are still where they run. Right now, just not a whole lot of progress being made. It's a testament to these race teams who, again, I think every time that we've especially approached a racetrack for the second time in a season, Eric, everybody comes back much stronger and much better. And I think that's why it is so tough to make up ground in this series.
There's a lot of confidence, too, that comes with the positive result at an event, or even if you have some bad luck, be able to apply lessons learned to a second chance and opportunity to echo the sentiments in which Blake was just mentioning as far as coming back to a facility for the second time. Chad McCumbee on the right side of your picture, the number 16. He's had himself a pretty good car on the bottom of the racetrack. It appears he's able to surge somewhat further forward in turns 3 and 4 on the very bottom of the racetrack. Now tries to get a run on McCarty on the top side. Crosses back under here to the inside as he almost gets in to the fellow Ford car of Bobby McCarty.
Two longtime veterans of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour, again trying to improve their position, their choose position here with the next Volt battery caution, competition caution coming out in 4 laps. Should we not see a yellow before then? We know how important, how hard it is potentially to make up these spots, and every spot that they can go forward is another opportunity for them when they choose to have some more options in terms of whether they want to make up some spots on the bottom or perhaps elect to go to the top side. McCumbee, you could see really strong through 3 and 4 at that time.
All the while, Brendan Butterbean's lead is up to almost 3 seconds at the head of the field, continuing to slice his way through the lap traffic while this fight inside the top 10 for 8th continues to rage on side by side. 40 to go next time through. And I believe, Blake, we are getting closer to what would be our second and potentially final competition yellow should this race continue with its green flag look.
We'll be at the end of this next lap, and can even see Brandon Willard making the preparations as he has the Volt battery caution flag in hand. And he's coming around now as Brendan Queen makes his way off of turn 4 to display it to the rest of the field. And indeed, we will see that competition caution come out before McCumbee is able to make up that spot on Bobby McCarty. They're battling at the outskirts of the top 10. 40 laps to go here at Tri-County Speedway. We'll reset the field and take you to the end here on Flow Racing. back with you here from Tri-County Speedway, where Butterbean has led all 85 completed laps thus far in Hudson, North Carolina tonight. Blake McCandless, Eric Brennan, and Jacqueline Drake gathering all the stories down in the pit area. And Eric, it has been a spectacular event here at Tri-County Speedway. Aside from the racing, inviting both the pro late models and the late model stocks, as well as the GXS Wrap street stocks that were able to compete a little bit earlier in the evening for us. Had a lot of festivities going on at this racetrack outside of the tower here. Had some podcasts going on and a little bit of drivers who were able to participate in that and have a nice time with the fans. Fan Fest on the front straightaway with the late model stock and pro late model competitors, as fans were able to go up and mingle with their favorite drivers. Also had Wonder, the artist, out here performing for all these race fans, and how grateful and appreciative he was of being able to come out here, have fun, and how much he loves racing. Meant a lot to him to be able to perform for these race fans.
Well, we see several teams taking the opportunity to pit under this caution, either for adjustments or repairs. The hood has been up for several laps now on the 04 of Ronnie Bassett Jr.'s car. Blake, I got to say, we visit a lot of very cool facilities, a lot of very nice facilities. In terms of raceability and access and ease to get to, we mentioned the fact that there are continued upgrades that are happening at this facility, and the fact that coming out to a track like Tri-County and pretty much any Cars Tour race is an event. And this is one of the unique facilities where, as you can see, it does have trackside parking pretty much through the middle of turns 1 and 2, all the way to the end of the backstretch where the billboards start. There's a lot of unique ways to get out and see a Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour race, and there'll be several opportunities to do that again come 2024. So if you've been following along with us on Flow Racing all year long, and another huge thanks to our entire production team who works so hard on a weekly basis to bring you the sights and sounds of the races that Blake and I and Jacqueline and James Pike have the privilege to be able to travel and work. I have to say, it's even better in person. As much as we love the chance for those of you to be able to listen along to how we cover the race, you're going to love it when you get out to one if you haven't already. And if you have, you got to keep on coming back, because the racing delivers every time.
That it does. As we see the results of the choose, an interesting decision, I think, from Mason Diaz, who had the option to either line up as the third car on the inside or outside row, but he is confident enough in his Chad Bryant Racing machine and how they have been able to make the bottom work for that 24 car, so he elects to go to the inside. And I think Huffman, who wasn't expecting it, ends up being the third car on the outside row instead of being the fourth car on the inside row. McCaskill, McCarty, Quapple, and Chad McCumbee will line up behind them. So Wallace, though, we heard a little bit of radio communication earlier that the preaching of that 43 car was save a little bit. Make sure you're saving, so we'll see how much that 43 Toyota has left in it for 40 laps to sprint to the finish here at Tri-County Speedway. So far, through 85 laps, it has been all Brendan Butterbean Queen. Does that continue as we work through the KRC Power Steering restart zone? Back underway to settle it all here at Tri-County. Contact amongst your front two. Here comes Kate Brown up the inside, 3 wide as they work off the corner. So Wallach in a sandwich right now.
And Connor Hall is trying to take advantage up top, so Wallach slides up to protect the spot. Hall jacks him up on the front stretch, and a big pile up on the main straightaway. Several cars involved.
Andrew Grady, Connor Zillish, Giovanni Ruggiero, Applegate, Bice, Clark, Peters, Minnie Tyrell, Brandon Pierce, and Wilson may have stopped just before he got to the carnage, as there is a parking lot here on the front straightaway. Chase Burrow escapes from it as well. Cameron Boland has parked on the inside of turn 1 in a huge crash that has taken out a multitude of competitors, and immediately the red flag being displayed here at Tri-County.
Several cars with extreme damage to their race cars. You see Bryce Applegate in his Cars Tour late model stock debut for Hedgecock Racing. Andrew Grady, one of the Touring 12 drivers. Logan Clark, who was making adjustments just on the most recent pit stop. And Jacqueline Drake let us know that Brandon Pierce stopped to do a quick tire swap on that car to help with the handling, put him in the back of the pack, and now he's wadded up on the main straightaway as well, as Logan Clark climbs from the car and is okay.
It is going to be a while to clean up this mess. As you can see, Clark already quickly out of his race car, but puts the window net down, and you can see that he is okay. Applegate able to do the same. See the fluids leaking out of the bottom of the 15 car as it works down the front straightaway. track workers here are going to have their hands full.
On the bottom side of your picture, that's Brandon Pierce. Helmet still on, trying to take the hood pins off the car to see if he could prep it perhaps for a tow back to the pit area. One of the cars that was first out, one of the drivers first out, was that of Logan Clark. He's standing by with Jacqueline.
Yeah, down here trackside, the number 15 obviously involved there. Logan, from your viewpoint, what did you see?
I mean, honestly, everyone was kind of stacked up right in front of me. I had nowhere to go and didn't really expect it coming. Daniel just told me to back it down, and at that point, it was just too late. It happened so fast. But we struggled really, really hard all night, all weekend, really. But just want to thank my RNS Race Cars team for bringing fast cars every week. We'll try again next week.
Previously to that contact, he had just come in for an adjustment. The number 15, Logan Clark, out, as well as several others now exiting out of the car. Brandon Pierce actually taking the hood off of his car, bringing it over to his crew as they will await a tow truck. We have Andrew Grady now exiting out of his car. Bryce Applegate. See if we can catch up with a few of them in just a moment.
All right, thanks, Jacqueline. You can see Brandon Pierce standing outside his race car and all the damage that has been done. And we will step aside here for just a moment as we try to sort things out here at Tri-County. A parking lot here on the front straightaway with 40 laps to go in this one, as several drivers, their night is going to come to an abrupt end. We'll be back on Flow Racing. Crash that has taken out several competitors here tonight at Tri-County has just ensued. This incident is standing by with Jacqueline Drake. It is Cameron Boland.
Cameron Boland, a lot of emotions right now, what just happened, but what did you see from your viewpoint?
Didn't have much to see, Jacqueline. You know, it just all happened so fast. I mean, I don't know if we can even make Caraway. I mean, I hate to sound like a charity case here, but we're barely scraping by to get here as we are right now. So just to go finish Rookie of the Year, that'd be great. But you know, we gotta do what's right for the pocketbook. Thank you to everybody that's made this year possible. Everybody that didn't think we were going to make it past race 5, and here we are leading Rookie of the Year points. I just owe it to my guys to finish this deal out. So it hurts, a lot of heartbreak, but we'll be back and we'll come back stronger.
Cameron Boland, a family-run team out of their house, and heartbreaking end to his night here.
I got to tell you, Blake, Cameron's someone who you and I have gotten to know very, very well. And as Jacqueline mentioned, it's a family-owned operation. They do have some help from that of Josh Williams Motorsports. Josh Williams, NASCAR Xfinity Series regular and former race winner on the ARCA side. But Cameron is someone who has kind of had to scratch and claw through Legend Car opportunities, made the most of every chance that he's been handed. It's, of course, certainly unsettling to see him and that family put in that position, but that is a part of the sport. They are aware of it. The hope is we will see Cameron back, as this is what ensued on the front stretch, pure chaos.
And just at the tail end of it, I think you could see Andrew Grady and Connor Zilish kind of at the front end of that. And I think for Bolin, as well as many competitors, Bassett, you see, got a piece of it. Chase Burrow, just absolutely nowhere for any of these cars to go. You can see Timothy Peters sliding in a little bit late. Applegate has nowhere to go. Bice is on the outside. Logan Clark. And Ruggiero just misses getting clipped there by Peters, who was sliding in. Brandon Pierce, you can see, runs into the back of Minnie Tyrell. But again, it's just a racetrack that narrows up on exit, and there was just nowhere to go. But it looked like the initial further up the road between Grady and Zilish. We'll hear more from down in the pit area and Jacqueline Drake.
Standing by with the number 45 of Bryce Applegate. This was your first race ever with the Cars Tour, and unfortunately it's ending in a rough way. But previously to this, how was your night and how has your experience been with racing with all the tour guys?
It's just an honor to be here because I'm a small town kid from a small town, so it's cool to be here. We had a decent car all day, fighting a little bit of handling issues, but I saw the wreck coming. I tried to brake, but I just got shoved into it. Really good thanks to Louisville Dryer Company, Industrial County Dryer, Standstill, Hot Mix Parts and Service, all the guys, and just hate to tear it up, but it was a decent night. I wanted to complete all the laps, but experience is key here.
Bryce Applegate out for this evening. Although first time in a late model stock here, he's been here several times racing all sorts of cars. Legends here at Tri-County.
And it is. You can with Logan Clark, Applegate's machine, as well as Andrew Grady here, who's parked on the front straightaway. And you can see just a lot of work continuing to be done to clean up a lot of the fluids, as several cars left a trail of fluids all the way down the racetrack. And certainly a little bit of work to be done there.
And I got to say, for Bryce Applegate, he, first off, stand-up interview for the young driver out of Simpsonville, Kentucky, and he mentioned experience is key. We didn't talk about Bryce all that much today, and that's not because he wasn't running up towards the front. That was because he kept his nose clean. He was racing in and around people in which he needed to in order to garner the respect and experience that he's hoping for. Bryce is someone who is certainly going to be on the radar for many. And the Hedgecock Racing Enterprises entry of that number 45, although it's going to end the night on the hook and they're going to have to piecemeal it back into the trailer to get it back home, Bryce is someone who I'm sure has been able to impress a lot of people in the laps he was able to run. And, of course, this incident that unfolded in front of him, there was nothing that he could do.
Again, you see two more cars parked here on the front straightaway. All drivers involved in this incident have climbed out of their race cars. Many of the cars who were involved in that incident that aren't parked here on the front straightaway are having some work tended to it. There was just a moment there where the red and yellow flag was displayed, allowing these crew members down in the pit area to continue working on their cars if they need to make repairs. But for more, let's head down to Jacqueline Drake.
Standing by trackside with the number 2 of Brandon Pierce. They actually just got your car back on the rollback. Brandon, what did you see from your standpoint on what happened?
Yeah, that was the problem. I mean, I couldn't get checked up, so I hate it. I just, come in there in the mini when I had restarted on the bottom because we pitted, so we had to go to the tail end of the longest line, and I had just wrapped the bottom in 3 and 4 and let it come out to the wall. And right before I seen Minnie checking up, I seen a car go, so I started getting on the binders. But, I mean, by the time I got to him, he was stopped, and it was only 2-3 car lengths, so I just slid into him. So hate it for him, hate it for my guys. It's, we're going so fast here. Like I said, by the time Spotter was saying check up, everybody was stopped, and these things don't stop on a dime. So I did all I could to try to minimize the damage, and luckily I don't think it clipped it. That's why I stayed out there so long. We just got that car back together, so hate it for all my guys. They busted their asses trying to get it back together. So luckily, like I said, I don't think it clipped it, but still ended our night early. So unfortunate, but for anybody that's followed our years, it's kind of just how it's went. So tough break, but we'll move on to Caraway.
Right before that incident, Brandon had just come in, done a little bit of a tire swap, struggling just a little bit with handling, and that number 2 retired for the evening now.
You can see the disappointment from many of these drivers, and it's kind of coming to that point in the year, even with Cameron Boland that we were looking at. It's that point of the year where, you may not be able to kind of sort things out beforehand as we get one more look at what caused this latest incident. We just caught the tail end of some type of contact between, I believe, the 1 and the 57 car that was a little bit up the road. And just, again, things happen here so quickly. Yeah, you can see they're already well around. Ronnie Bassett Jr. was kind of at the front end of that as well. You don't get quite a clear indication of where exactly that started and kind of who hit who. You can see by the time our camera catches it, I mean, Grady, Zilish, they're already well around and involved in this one.
And as Brandon Pierce mentioned, if you're committed to the top side here at Tri-County, which is a racetrack that requires you to carry a lot of momentum, you're back full song, well off of the middle of 3 and 4, and you're trying to stay in the gas to keep with the lane that is down to the bottom of you. And with that in mind, I mean, as Brandon mentioned, there's not enough time to be able to react to a situation like that. And that was unfortunately the case for pretty much all drivers involved.
And it certainly was. As we will step aside once again as track cleanup continues here at Tri-County Speedway. We'll be right back with 39 laps to go. Get a look at what is left of the rest of the field. Here's the rest of them are isn't shown right there on the screen. They were likely involved in that incident. But for more down in the pits, let's toss it down to Jacqueline Drake.
Another driver involved in that wreck is the number 1 of Andrew Grady. I just walked up. You're putting your cigarette out there. You just had a really hard wreck. Walk me through what just happened for you.
All hell broke loose, and it was Katie bar the door. I got hit in the driver door pretty hard, but I'm all good. It rung my bell a little bit, but I hate it for my guys, man. We struggled all weekend with speed, and I was just trying to get out of here with the car in one piece, and that didn't happen, but it's bent. We'll fix it, and we'll be ready for Caraway.
Andrew Grady retired for the evening. And right behind us, we actually just saw the number 77 of Connor Hall that's nosed in. We'll try to catch up with that team in just a moment.
Yeah, with Connor Hall, again, you can see still red-yellow conditions out, as Hall was amongst the front runners here who were parked on the front straightaway, and he just fired the car up just about a minute and a half ago or so and elected to pull his car down. So something amiss on the number 77 car that they will go to work on, and in doing so will lose the track position that he had fought so hard to keep throughout this race. You can see the hood is up, and the team hard at work for Chad Bryant Racing is, yes, wow. You could see issues there for the number 77.
I guess it's safe to say that car was overheating.
Yes.
And they were trying to cool it down before that happened, and unfortunately it appears as though they still got a little bit of work to do. They say they run really good, right up to that point where they start to boil over. And, boy, Connor Hall was running really, really well up in the top 5 with his teammate. And a great heads-up move by that crew to get out of the way on the Chad Bryant side of things before anybody took some of that hot fluid to the face.
Well, again, it heads up there for Connor Hall, who clearly was sitting and noticed that, hey, something was clearly going wrong, and he felt it necessary to come down and get service before something else happened.
Overheating has been a bit of a trend that we've seen in some of these races, and even though the temperatures are starting to cool off in terms of what's going on outside, evidently to make these cars run at peak performance, you oftentimes have to test the limits of what these engines can take, and they are still working diligently to try to get some coolant back in that motor to get Connor Hall back out there to reassume this battle up towards the head of the field. And as you mentioned, Blake, a couple of the off-season storylines that we're going to be following. In fact, even though they turn into storylines here, I don't want to say mid-season, but towards the end of the season, Connor Hall to the Nelson Motorsports entry for 2024. Hall, who elected to forego the running efforts that he had with the Cars Tour in terms of the title chase towards the end of the season to chase the national title, was able to grab top honors in that battle, and then was recently announced as a new driver, that Nelson Motorsports number 22 that Landon Huffman currently has the keys to. Huffman also announced his plans for next year. Jimmy Mooring Racing, which is the team that has fielded the championship-winning entry for that of Jared Fryer. The press release stated that Landon would be virtually alongside of Jared, so that won't be in place of, but we can expect that we will be seeing those cars on the racetrack in tandem at some point in 2024, hopefully for our sake, for the entirety of the year.
Let's hope so, as far as that is concerned, as the Bryce Applegate machine that was parked here on the front straightaway seems to be the last car kind of pulled from the wreckage. And it looks like the track crew that has been working diligently for the last 20-25 minutes or so to clear the racetrack just has a couple more things to do, just a couple of last-minute duties to wrap up to ensure that this track is ready to go. Again, we've had a couple of cars who have had these streaks of fluids run down. We saw it in the Pro Late Model race and a couple of instances here in the Late Model Stock Car race as they continue their cleanup. Again, one last look as our camera just catches it. You can see Grady and Zilish already around as this takes place just beneath the flag stand here.
And the cars that were able to drive away, like the 81 of Minnie Tyrell, like the 57 of Connor Zilish, and several more, if they were able to leave the scene of the accident, they went ahead and tried to get some service rendered. It should be noted, perhaps in my opinion, one of the best rules on the competition side for the Cars Tour. When this wreck happened, they deployed the red flag because safety personnel having to move was objective number one. Once we knew that the drivers were okay and we got everyone into a safe place, the Cars Tour officials then had the opportunity to put out what they call a red-yellow, which is both the red flag and the caution flag. What that means is if you were able to get your car to the pit area, go ahead and get it down there and utilize this downtime to service your vehicle and get it back out there in competition. More cars on the racetrack is better for us, better for the fans, better for the teams to be able to utilize that downtime and not have to burn caution laps after the cleanup is complete to give everyone their chance to fix their cars. A lot of teams took advantage of that rule and that time. Thus, we're going to be able to see more drivers like Laney Bice, like the 57 of Connor Zilish, like the 81 of Minnie Tyrell, who were in the middle of that mess. They're out here already on the pace laps, getting ready for the restart with 39 to go.
At least as far as I can see here on the front straightaway, Ronnie Bassett Jr. is one of the few cars that I can see that hasn't been completely ruled out of the race, that is still down in the pit area, although not a lot of desperation being shown there, so perhaps the evening may be done from 0-4 camp. Just saw Dylan Wilson, who just smidged and was able to slide in and kind of throw on the binders just before he became a part of that latest incident. He currently is down in the pit area and has been making adjustments on many of the stops that he's incurred. Was running 2 laps down a little bit earlier, but sure will make up a ton of spots here late in the going. You saw Connor Hall just a moment ago. He was moving off the pit lane, so they feel as though everything is fixed on that number 77, or at least good enough to put him back out there. Unfortunately for him, he'll be put at the tail end of the field after coming down to get service in the midst of that red and yellow flag. As far as cars that were involved in the incident that are rolling at least that I can tell. Minnie Tyrell is out on the racetrack. Chase Burrow is as well. And Cameron Bolin, the 67, we were mentioning the emotional interview that he gave. He's out on the racetrack right now, albeit mangled. They may have a lot of work to do before Caraway, but is going to make up some valuable spots. We talked about him trying to race for Rookie of the Year. This is going to go a long ways towards it if he can stay on the racetrack with Dylan Wilson chasing him down for that Rookie of the Year title.
That car of Bolin is beaten and battered, but they will not lay down. They are out there going to try to finish this race. That is a Sharon, South Carolina native. As the field continues on, all the while, amidst that major carnage that took place after the restart with 40 to go at the time, Brendan Queen has been the dominant force by far. That has been just an exceptional car, an exceptional effort for that of Butterbean, who said after the pole interview earlier with Jacqueline that he feels like he had one getaway here for the Old North State Nationals last August, and they are executing to the highest degree, trying to hold on to whatever shot that may still be available to be in the title fight when we get to Caraway on November 4th. And right now, he's doing exactly what he needs to, with Carson Quapple running in about the 9th spot as things stand. It's a good chance for Butterbean to make up some ground in the championship if things were to stay as they are, and give himself just an outside shot at being able to grab the title should things stay the way that they are and go well at Caraway.
Well, again, in talking to Brendan a couple of weeks ago, when we were doing that race at Florence Motor Speedway, he kind of acknowledged the fact that, the championship may be a little bit out of reach for that team as long as Carson continues to kind of do what he's been doing all year and doesn't have any issues, that it's likely going to end up in the camp of that number 8 team. But definitely making it hard, and at least will be a case where we will have to wait until that season finale at Caraway to perhaps dish out the trophy, and you never know what could happen there at Caraway. We've seen some crazy ends to the Cars Tour season. We saw it last year with the Rookie of the Year battle and everything going on that saw a wild race that put Jared Fryer in victory lane. Again, a really, really crazy event there. We'll see it here in 2 weeks. Again, that'll be November 4th, live here on Flow Racing. We'll be with you for round number 19. Hard to believe it's already been 19 races that the Saw Rock Carriers Cars Tour has carried here on Flow Racing. As we can see, the choose has been made. All the work on the front straightaway is complete for now, and we will finally get the 1-to-go signal with 39 laps left.
I got to say, the variable here is going to be Mason Diaz. That car has been so good on the bottom of the racetrack. He's inside of row 2. He is by far one of the most aggressive of the front runners, who is willing to do whatever it takes to make a pass at Tri-County. That has been dubbed by every driver in the field as difficult to do. What is he willing to do in the final 39 laps to get win number 2 on the season? He'll restart inside of that second row.
Don't rule out Bobby McCarty either. Number 6 in the 6th position. Could have something to say about the end of this race. Through the KRC Power Steering restart zone, and not a great launch for Sawalage as he'll tag the left rear of Brown. What a save from the 23 of Cade Brown. 5 wide further back in the field. McCarty is off the pace, and somehow we have not thrown the Volt Battery caution yet because everybody was able to collect it up.
That has separated the field into a couple of packs. This Hornet's Nest with the points leader smack dab in the middle of it. In fact, outside of your picture. Diaz to second, Huffman third, Queen still the leader.
And all cause Sawalage maybe had some trouble getting up through the gears, a little bit of contact that he had with Cade Brown, and what a tremendous effort from Cade Brown to control that race car as he was sliding in front of the rest of the field, and the rest of the pack reacted.
That has drop kicked Carson Quapple to 17th. After being in the wrong place at the wrong time, he's picked up 1 spot to 16th. Did that of your point leader?
Yeah, you can see a couple of cars that were involved in an incident. Bice, Zilish, Dylan Ward, several drivers that were involved in that incident. He had to check up and is now slotted behind them. So he's got a couple of spots to try and make up here to trying to tighten up this championship battle just a little bit more. 3 wide in front of him as McCumbee tries to get by 2 of those cars that were involved in it.
Boy, this is not where Carson Quapple wants to be right now. There are some ill-handling race cars in and around him as he continues to work the top side of the racetrack. Laney Bice outside with the taped-up number 21 AK Performance car. Connor Zilish in the 57 down low. Quapple's trying to rim ride around them all as they almost come together off 4.
Zilish sliding through. Bice trying to look to the top side, and Carson Quapple's going to go one step further. However, he backs out of it with them 3 wide directly in front of him. He'll now go to the top side. He almost looks 4 wide underneath his friend in Connor Zilish. Bice almost into Zilish as well.
Quapple now trying to follow Zilish through on the top side of the racetrack as they all skip their way over the bump in turn number 2. All the while, Mason Diaz is closing in on Brendan Butterbean Queen for the race lead. The gap is down to a half a second, while the points leader Quapple continues to try to survive the traffic in which he finds himself mired in.
And again, Queen was able to get out to a pretty healthy advantage because of everything that was going on that restart. But time and time again, Mason Diaz ate into Brendan Butterbean Queen's lead that time by about a tenth of a second. A 24 car ripping better than them all right now, as we'll see it once again here on the stopwatch. Give that lap to Queen, but Diaz looking awfully strong and will be a challenge that Queen will have to fend off.
Fortunately for Quapple, it appears as though things have simmered down just a little bit to where he finds himself mired in 14th, working on Connor Zilish for 13th. We mentioned the streak of top 10 finishes. It could be in jeopardy should this race stay green. No guaranteed caution to come unless there is an incident on the racetrack. We'll be within 25 to go, thus no more Volt Battery competition cautions, but the battle for the lead continues to intensify.
Well, again, the gap from 3rd to 4th is over a second. From 4th to 5th, it's over a second. From 5th to 6th, it's about a second. That's how much that restart kind of jumbled things up here at Tri-County. Diaz wheeling it off the corner, and you can visually see the amount of ground that he is making up on Butterbean. This time exactly 0.4 of a second is the gap between your top 2 runners. Huffman slowly falling back, but is well in control of 3rd for now. Diaz, my goodness, you can see the hands working, swatting flies behind the cockpit of that race car.
And how about the trajectory in which each of these drivers have competed here so far tonight? Brendan Butterbean Queen won the pole, his 5th of the season. Meanwhile, Mason Diaz qualified 15th. We told you the stat earlier. In the 7 prior races here, nobody has ever started worse than 7th and gone to victory lane. Diaz is trying to knock that baseline out of the park here. If he can go from 15th to Edelbrock victory lane, but he's got only 23 more laps to find his way around. One very hungry driver in that of Brendan Queen, who's trying to gain maximum points on the night if possible, with Quapple still outside the top 10.
Further back in the field, this is around where Sawalich has kind of gathered himself back up. Right now, it's for the 8th position. Jacob Hefner, who's pretty much held serve from his starting track position all night long. Same with Ryan Millington, who runs just behind him, just inside the top 10. McCumbee, and you can see Josh Dickens that is just behind this battle. These were some cars that were battling amongst Carson Quapple and a couple of others earlier, but have managed to slowly pull away. You can see Quapple has drifted back as a result of everything that has gone on with that number 8 car tonight. But Hefner, Sawalich, side by side, Hefner trying to make up some ground.
Since the hiccup on the restart, Sawalich's car just has not been the same as what we saw out of him up to this point in the night. Pretty much had top 3 pace all night long, it seemed, did that of the 43. But now Jacob Hefner is trying to slide his way through. Chad McCumbie's car has come to life as well. Millington looking 3 wide on the bottom. And you mentioned Josh Dickens, Blake. Hats off to the driver out of Miami, Florida. He started the season with a different organization, switched over to the Van Dyke Racing Performance team, came back at South Boston, rebounded from some damage for a top 15 place finish, and he is in the mix with Sawalich swatting flies in the cockpit after attack from McCumbee.
Well, again, roughly 30 cars started this race, but the one thing that has kind of changed the game here, especially for Queen, is the fact that there's just not near as much lap traffic on the racetrack as there once was. About just 20 cars left out onto the racetrack after that latest incident that took out about 2 handfuls of them. So Queen, a little bit helped by the fact that he doesn't have lap traffic up the road, these last couple laps has slowly started to build back that race lead to about 0.7 of a second over Mason Diaz. Meanwhile, you can see Chad McCumbee, Josh Dickens, and the rest of the field still battling at the outskirts of the top 10.
You see Carson Quapple starting to join this battle that consists of 8th place Jacob Hefner all the way back further up the road. Here is Stephen Nassy trying to hold on to a top 5 spot over Bobby McCarty, who edges him out at the line for 5th that time. Nassy working the top side, McCarty on the bottom, and Cade Brown waiting in the wings. See what happens with these drivers in this fight.
And again, Cade Brown, just so impressed with the fact that he was able to keep his race car together. Got a lot of contact, a little bit like what he just gave to Bobby McCarty. He was able to keep it together, and again, props to the rest of this field as well, who reacted in due measure to keep this race rolling as is right now. 13 laps to go. This is behind Massey. This is for a shot at the top 5, and Brown electing to go to the bottom as he has roughly all night long. His car has been awfully strong there, and I'd imagine this 23 would be up there contending for the win if not for the fact that he did fall back and having to kind of make up those last couple of spots as he once again gives a shove to McCarty in turn 1.
McCarty's going to run up the racetrack on the exit of turn number 2. Now Brown working the low side, where he's been pretty much committed throughout most of the night as that of the Matt Piercy Racing driver. Again, Brown and McCarty doing all they can to get up to the top 5, while the race leader, Brendan Queen, has caught a couple of cars that are running at the tail end of the pack, but that has not allowed Mason Diaz to close the gap under anything less than 1.3 seconds.
No, it has in the last 10 laps. Butterbean has just flat out taken off as it's nearly a 10th. It was almost 0.2 of a second that last lap that Queen had over Mason Diaz, and what a redemption arc it would be here for Brendan Queen after running so strong in the Old North State Nationals. Had to drive through the field roughly twice, almost completely, to win that race. And yet here he is just less than 2 months later, looking for redemption here at Tri-County in a race that eluded him a little bit earlier. It's just 8 laps away from being able to accomplish that.
Giovanni Ruggiero next in line there after he was able to stop his car in a slide from being caught up in the big crash. Here's the battle for 5th. McCarty now up about halfway to the inside door of Stephen Nassy, as these two veteran drivers who have accomplished so much in their racing career with so much still to come, now battling it out here in the late model stock cars for the final seat at the table to check off a top 5 finish here tonight at Tri-County. McCarty tries to dig deep on the inside off 4.
Well, you can remember the 23 was just behind this battle, and he is significantly slower these last couple of laps as he's going to fall back into the clutches of Millington and the rest of the field. So Cade Brown, big issue. He's lost nearly 3 or 4 tenths the last couple of laps behind these two that are battling for the 5th position.
Brown in danger of losing even more spots here as Nassy has been able to fend off the challenge from Bobby McCarty up to this point. Again, McCarty was another driver who qualified outside the top 10. Has had a pretty good drive up through the field up to this point. But time is starting to run out in terms of the opportunity to get up to that top 5 and for anybody to catch Brendan Butterbean Queen, who has been the dominator, with McCarty continuing trying to work the low side on Nassy.
Gap is now over 2 seconds that Queen enjoys over Mason Diaz, so just needs this race to finish in an orderly fashion as we once again continue to watch the battle for what is the 5th position. Nassy very strong in just his 3rd Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour late model stock car start, trying to hold off the best in the business in Bobby McCarty. But they'll come around this time and see the white flag. One more trip around Tri-County Speedway for Brendan Butterbean Queen, looking to go to victory lane once again after his triumph at New River All-American Speedway in dominant fashion, and off of turn 4 for the final time. Redemption for Butterbean. He wins the Blue Ridge 125 at Tri-County.
And with Cade Brown fading in the closing laps to what sounded like a laboring motor there in the final few corners, Carson Quapple, the championship points leader, comes home in 10th. The streak continues 15 for 15 in terms of top 10 finishes. But Brendan Butterbean Queen did exactly what they set out to do, won the Hedgecock Racing Pole Award, and led every lap for a dominating victory. Maybe, as you said, Blake, a little bit of redemption for the one that got away here in August.
The American flag is going to fly high as he keeps his championship hopes alive here at Butterbean Queen, who, when he has a fast car, Eric, is more than capable of showcasing it, being dominant all weekend long. They knew from the drop of practice from yesterday how good the 03 car was. He went out, he qualified it, and he showed it. This Lee Pulliam Performance team with Doug Powers at the helm, well, they are good. They are very good, and see, the crew is going to ride along with them around Tri-County Speedway tonight.
A team victory for sure, and Blake, one of the most well-known facets of Brendan Butterbean.
I hope he's not going to ride all the way to the Waffle House with him like that.
I was going to say, one of the new celebratory methods that we've seen out of Butterbean is they make sure that they take whatever check, whatever trophy to the nearest Waffle House for a celebratory dinner or breakfast, however you want to look at it. And I'm sure tonight is going to be no exception as well for this hard-working team.
You see, even having a discussion there as he's wrapping around Old Glory. He takes the laps around here to all the fans parked on the back straightaway here at Tri-County Speedway. What an effort, what a drive. It's Brendan Queen. They'll give some waves to the race fans. Will give us quite an experience as it takes a slow drive through turns 1 and 2 and will eventually pull up into Edelbrock Victory Lane. For Brendan Queen, it's his 4th victory in the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour and 3rd of this season. Much like we saw at South Boston 2 weeks ago, once again in completely dominant fashion, flag to flag. Nobody had anything for this 03 car.
He and that team did exactly what they set out to do, and they've got one more opportunity at Caraway to end the season on an ultimate. For the 3rd time in 2022. An incredible job by that team and by that organization as we await the opportunity to hear from that driver who is getting set to climb out of the car in celebration of yet another victory. It's been a remarkable season for Brendan Butterbean Queen, 2nd in the championship points so far. Now has a chance to celebrate a win here, and Jacqueline Drake will be standing down in victory lane with our winner, Brendan Butterbean Queen.
Trackside here in victory lane as he applies that SRI winning hat. Race fans, put your hands together for Brendan Butterbean Queen. It's become an iconic tradition for Brennan to have the American flag. The team is going to rush to the front straightaway and climb the fence. Tri-County, let them hear it. All the way to the top. Going to receive congratulations from everybody in the Lee Pulliam Performance team. Brennan. Brennan, congratulations. You have had a dominating night setting the pole and then able to lead from start to finish. And this feature event taking home the win. What was the key to your race winning strategy?
Man, Dougie, Lee, this whole LPP team, Maddie, Ben, Christian, Eddie, everybody that's been on this 03, we wanted redemption. And that's an old school ass whooping type of redemption night right there. So, man, I'm so humbled to have a night like this. You don't come to this tour and run like that. So, oh man, it's just testament to Lee Pulliam Performance. I'm just so blessed that I came over here at the end of last year and drive these fast race cars. BestRepair.net, Best Repair Company, the whole state and family. We're going to get a waffle tonight. Y'all know that, wherever the closest Waffle House is. Mincy's Graphics, LeithCars.com. I got to thank Old School Video Games, Hedgecock Race Cars, David West Racing Engines, Ernest Shocks, JRI Shocks, everything that's on board this car. It's just special. Thank the Lord. Lee, what do you think, buddy? We didn't run out of gas tonight. Woo! It's okay if this ain't 30 grand. The win still means just as much to us to come back here and win. I thank the man above. He's just blessed me to have these chances to drive these race cars. Anybody I'm forgetting, man, we're going to enjoy this one. You know, it ain't over till it's over. We're going to keep them on the ropes till Caraway.
What's going to be that Waffle House order when you get there tonight?
What was that?
What's going to be that Waffle House order when you get there tonight?
We're going to have an ice-cold glass of chocolate milk and an all-star special.
All right. Brendan Butterbean Queen, he's your winner tonight here at Tri-County and the Solid Rock Carriers Car Store.
All right, so Brendan's an all-star special kind of guy at his Waffle House. I like it.
I got to say, I love the fact that he said something in the middle of that interview. This is a humbling win because wins like this are hard to come by on the Cars Tour. We heard the same thing from Deke McCaskill at South Boston, the guy who's won a championship before and is the all-time wins leader. It seems like everyone is fully aware of where the competition is right now in late model stock car racing in the Cars Tour, and Brendan Queen is no exception. He is certainly going to enjoy this moment, and he earned that. But it's remarkable to hear, even in his highest moment in terms of success and going to Edelbrock Victory Lane, he's still aware of the fact that nights like this are not a given. Despite the team, despite the car and his ability, he's able to put it all together here tonight. And he's aware that he's got to work just as hard to do this again.
I was about to say, he is pumping up that cork. He is ready to let it loose whenever it does finally fly. There it goes. Want to make sure that didn't get our camera guy.
It might have landed up here the way he was shaking that thing. Oh, my. Well, I'll tell you, one of the best cars in the field tonight came up just one spot shy, and that, of course, was that of Mason Diaz, who charged from 15th to 2nd. Jacqueline Drake is standing by with Mason.
Quite a drive you had tonight, Mason. I walked up to you and you said, I'm not happy. I am not happy that 24 was on rails. You absolutely had a rocket ship, but what more did you need just to get up to that 03?
I just think that I might have used the tires up too much through the field. It's kind of hard to pass here, and I was bottom feeding the whole entire time, so I just kind of used the right front, but really solid run. Like I'm not happy, but I'm excited for the team. I mean, coming off Soba, it wasn't a good finish, and I would come back here and finish second. So we're knocking off these podiums again, and just in time to go back to Caraway. But I got to thank everyone here on this Chad Bryant racing crew, my spotter tonight. I mean, everyone's worked really hard all weekend and brought a really fast car, and just one spot short.
You're chipping your way at those points. I know you're thinking about trying to get up into the top 3. What's going to be the game plan, though, going into Caraway on how to make that happen?
I think we should be sitting third anyways, just battling with Billington. I'm not quite sure where he's at, but we should be able to finish top 3, but just need to get out here for the strong run with Caraway. But I just got to thank, like I said, everyone on this crew, all my sponsors, Solid Rock Carriers, Speedway Marina, the Sign Shop, TSS Services, I mean, everyone that helps, supports me, follows me. We have one more to go.
Mason Diaz is going to bring it home in second place at number 24.
Another late charge for Mason Diaz, as has been customary this second half of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour season. He has really been putting together quite a season towards his latter stretch, and that 24 Chad Bryant Racing team, they're going to have something to say, I think, when we come around to 2024. It could be the 24 that perhaps is in that fight for the championship at the end of it all. But standing by, finishing in third tonight, favorite and winner of the Old North State Nationals earlier this season, Landon Huffman standing by with Jacqueline Drake.
Yeah, Huffman, you started this race in the 12th position, but made your way all the way up to a podium. How was that number 22 for you tonight?
We had a solid race car, kind of the same thing bit us here that bit us South Boston. Just had to pass too many cars and didn't have enough track position. Qualifying kind of hurt us, but really proud of all these Autos by Nelson number 22 guys. I mean, I love this place. I get around here pretty good. It's a lot of fun, and the crowd always comes out and supports. So just thankful for another shot and a good solid run. Definitely didn't have nothing for the 03. Congratulations, Butterbean. Those guys were class of the field all weekend, but just proud of our effort and second loser.
Landon Huffman, he's going to round out your top 3, bringing it home in third.
Thanks, Jacqueline. The 30-mile ride back to Claremont is going to be without a trophy this time, but a great run for Landon, who, as he mentioned, publicized and actually dived into pretty emotionally in terms of solidifying his plans for 2024. Happy to see both he and that team continuing to click on all cylinders, even with just a couple races left to go, knowing what direction each of them are going next season. That says a lot about both Landon as a driver and that team and organization as well, and I would expect them to be threats when we get to Caraway 2 weeks from now.
No doubt about it. And golly, Eric, well, we've done 18 of these, and it is about time to sign off for what would be the next to last time. 2 weeks from tonight, championship race, and yes, there is a title to be decided in both the late model stocks and the pro late models that was not settled tonight. So there is still hope there for the 03 team. And Carson Quapple, that number 8 team, they are going to have to be on the money if tonight is any indication to wrap this thing up.
And how about that of Carson Quapple? I mean, we talked about the top 10 streak and the level of consistency that they have had. Cade Brown, unconfirmed, but it sounded like that car was laboring in the final few laps when he fell from the top 5 to 11th. By virtue of that spot, Carson was able to keep the top 10 run going, and we'll see how that falls when we try to tally up the points heading into Caraway. But Blake, what a night. I mean, this night had everything. We had all sorts of drama. We had great racing. I expect Caraway to be more of the same. If you can come out and join us in person, please do so. If not, we got you covered top to bottom on Flow Racing. Let's crown a pair of champions in a couple weeks, shall we?
Let's do it, Eric. On behalf of our entire broadcast crew on Flow Racing, for Jacqueline Drake and Eric Brennan, I'm Blake McCandless saying so long tonight from Tri-County Speedway. We bid you farewell and congratulations to tonight's winners in the Blue Ridge 250 in Caden Quapple and Brendan Butterbean Queen.